A very good afternoon to everyone. Warm welcome to the Canadian Wood webinar titled Legally Harvested and Seasoned Timber for a Better Future. We will try to cover this webinar proceedings in 75 minutes. I'm Jimmy Thomas, Assistant Director of Technical Services at Canadian Wood, operating from the Bangalore office. As most of you know, India is a timber deficit country, and a substantial part of our requirements are met through import of timber from various countries. Import is happening predominantly from economically weak or politically unstable countries where logging and forestry practices are neither legal nor sustainable altogether. Studies show that approximately around 30% of the timber coming to India is from illegal sources with a high negative environmental impact, which actually affects our climate and also future severely. As a wood technologist, by professional qualification, I recognize moisture content in wood or quality of seasoning as the most important parameter of timber, which affects the quality, performance, and life of the wood products. To address these topics, we are glad to have a couple of domain experts from the academic and research world. Of course, they are my good friends as well, along with my senior colleague from Canadian Wood as speakers. Before I call upon the first speaker, let me briefly explain you who we are and what we do. Forestry Innovation Investment, popularly known as Canadian Wood, is a non-profit crown organization of Government of British Columbia, Canada, to promote use of timber from BC in India. FA has been actively promoting the use of Canadian softwood species by creating awareness and educating the target audience about the properties and applications of these woods. Amongst many other initiatives, Canadian Wood organizes seminars, webinars, training workshops, sharing best practices, and at no cost to its audience and beneficiaries. So, with these few words, let me introduce you the first speaker of the day, Dr. E.V. Anoop. Dr. Anoop is the Dean as well as Faculty of Forestry, and also a professor and head of the Department of Forest Products and Utilization, Kerala Agricultural University, Thrissur, Kerala. I request Dr. Anoop to switch on your video. He guides and happy to mentor many postgraduate students. He's an expert in wood anatomy, timber identification, and has special interest in wood quality evaluation of lesser used species and in wood certification and recycling. His team from KU secured GI tag for Nilambur teak in 2018, first ever any tree species in the world to achieve this status. He's a leading consultant for several national as well as international agencies for timber identification and wood quality assessment as well. He has authored many articles, book chapters, and is an associated editor of several prestigious journals. With these few words, I hand over to Dr. Anoop for delivering his talk on legality of timber. Over to you, Dr. Anoop. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy, for your kind words. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me now start sharing my screen. I hope my presentation is visible in full screen.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. This is the title, Legality in Timber Trade, Current Scenarios, Challenges and Solutions. Well, I start off with some data like India is actually a net importer of timber because of mainly two things. In the 1988, as most of you know, we had this national forest policy, which put a brake on timber harvesting, switching from the perspective of looking at forests as a timber yielding resource to rather a conservation oriented, a resource that gives you ecological benefits. And though it advocated starting industrial agroforestry the captive plantation by the industries and also development of agroforestry, nothing did come off as far as timber production is concerned. And come 1996, the Honorable Supreme Court put a ban on the harvesting in government forests without any approved working plan. The net result was beginning of India's sustained import of logs. Then there was a slow timber production, even though from 1990s, we are seeing an increase in forest cover. So as I mentioned in the beginning, India remains deficient in timber production, and there will be severe shortage of supply of timber. Already it has started, and it will go on till in the years to come as we develop into a much richer country. I'll quickly look at the imports, export, production, consumption of timber in our country. 71 million cubic meters of wood is produced in India, a chunk of which a major share comes from the trees outside forest, otherwise known as the TOF sector. It's about 44%. And as you can see, very little comes up from the forest department and the forest development corporations owned by the government. And the increase in imports is happening now. It is to the tune of about 18 million cubic meters. And that adds up to a total timber production of 70.9 million cubic meters, I already mentioned. Looking at consumption, the major segment, of course, fuel wood, overlooking the fuel wood aspect, the consumption is mainly by the housing, furniture, agriculture, and agriculture implements, and also the handicrafts or the artisans sector that is consuming much of our wood to the tune of around total put together 69 million cubic meters, of which 48 million cubic meters is consumed by the construction, furniture, and allied sectors. It looks almost closer figure, both in terms of the production as well as the supply as well as the consumption. Maybe the contribution of bamboo has put the supply or availability a little bit higher figure above that of the consumption. And as already mentioned, 44.34 million cubic meters from TOF. Well, in this talk, I will also be focusing on species which are at high risk in traceability and legality verification, because ours is a country which is a net importer of teak, importing teak from very politically unstable, poor countries and ecologically fragile areas without any consideration for our setting forest footprints or the timber harvest footprints into other countries, especially the poorer countries in Africa as well as in South America, and also in the Pacific Ocean islands as well as the Southeast Asian countries. Teak, as already Jimmy had put it, we have now secured GIR, geographical indication status, first ever tree species to secure one for the Nilambur or the so-called Malabar teak. And then there are several other precious teak varieties like the Burmese teak or Myanmarese teak, which is banned from export in log form from 2014, and almost completely it has now stopped legally exporting the Myanmarese teak. We have now technologies developed to find out the geographical source or geographical area of origin of a particular timber species, especially for teak and mahogany, by using molecular studies or genetic markers, and as well as by what is called as stable isotope ratios. Another major issue that is affecting our country is that of the handicrafts. As we all know, we are a very, very strong or rich country in terms of exports, in terms of handicrafts, especially wooden handicrafts, and much of our exports, apart from furniture and other products like the plywood and all, are coming from the handicrafts, and that too wooden handicrafts, and particularly from this genera called Dalbergia, which includes both Dalbergia latifolia and Sishan, or the Dalbergia sisu. Now we have the situation like, all the Dalbergias, barring Dalbergia nigra, the African rosewood, being put into Appendix 1, which is totally banned in trade. All other Dalbergia species have come to Appendix 2. So Sisam being traded now on a wide scale, we need certain kind of certification that in certain countries, almost all the developed countries insist on importing material that is sustainable, that is originating from sustainably managed, certified legal sources. Same is the case with mahogany. There is often a confusion between African mahogany, which is Khaya ivarensis, and the South American or the big leaf mahogany, Swietenia macrophylla. We have this species being listed as vulnerable and also banned in trade, vulnerable according to the IUCN Red List, and Merbor Wengi, which is India bijuva, which is originating from mainly from Malaysia. This also is a highly used and high demand species, but it is also under put under threatened category in the IUCN Red List. So there is a relook at the export of these materials from the originating countries to countries like India, which are recklessly importing timbers which are not sourced from legal sources or certified sources. Red sanders, another one which is vulnerable as per the IUCN, is also being illegally felled and traded. Although we have timber issues in as far as import of logs into our country, that is exporting from other countries to our to India, we have picked up issues with Brazil. Big issues where there is a lot of illegal harvesting going on in Brazil. When you talk about Brazil, it's home of Amazon. And last year there was this talk that every 6 seconds the pristine rainforests are lost at the tune of a size of a football ground every 6 seconds. So that's a huge loss that is being faced by countries like Brazil, where we have the pristine, what we call as the rainforest. And we also have issues with the Papua New Guinea, part of the New Guinea Islands, and also with several of the African nations like the Democratic Republic of Congo. Then we have issues with Ghana. We have the countries like Morocco, which is we are importing species which are Cameroon, which are actually banned in trade or very rare and vulnerable as far as the IUCN list is concerned. But there is absolutely no control in our country in the ports to handle such issues, importing wood from very vulnerable countries, very poor countries which are ruled by the mafia or the militia, by the military. We are importing from Malaysia. The amount in US dollars is being shown. Even from countries in the South America or Latin America, like Uruguay, we have issues. It's also a small country like Ecuador, nearing to the, of course, in the Latin America again. And also from New Zealand, which of course we are importing pine wood, which is certified. And this shows you the figures of sawnwood, which we are importing. And Germany tops the list. You can also look at how much US $1 million or money that is being paid to these countries. We were fetching from these countries by importing these to our country. The leader is Germany, Malaysia, and Indonesia as far as sawnwood is concerned. Coming to export, we export very little of timber and timber products from India. Of course, with the developing economy and more industries coming in areas in Yamunanagar and other Jodhpur and Jaipur, etc., we are showing an increase in timber product export as well. But it is negligible compared to what we are importing. Then we are also exporting furniture and woodworks, as I already mentioned. And the exports are going to mainly to China, then to Singapore and to Tanzania. Well, these figures shows the import and export year-wise. 1 to 20 is actually 2001 to 2020. We are, importing timber. The timber import has been increasing over time. But in 2009, there was a figure that is a little bit higher than that of 2019, when there was, encouragement as far as the export policy was concerned. We could import a huge quantity. Now, 1920, there was this COVID aspect, so both import and export came down, which is again picking up over time now. And there was this availability of substitutes, and also one major issue is that our ports don't handle the timber and timber products We have very little import duties, and ours is actually a free trade. The trade barriers are negligible, and we can import to any quantity. Quantity is not a concern for us for importing logs from these ecologically vulnerable areas. This shows the export and import of plywood. Again, as I already mentioned, it is in high demand because it can substitute the solid timber in construction. This is the roundwood forecast for 2030. We will be requiring 97.81 million cubic meters of wood by 2030. And look at the figure for India for illegally harvested timber. We are a big culprit in terms of using illegal wood. 597 million cubic meters for the data shared by ITC and by the UFRO. And our country is notorious. We are placed behind China and Vietnam in importing illegally sourced timber along with the EU, Thailand, and the US. We have lots of risks facing as far as legality is concerned. There is the FRA, but again, the forest dwellers' rights are not taken care of. Third parties enter into the deal, and a lot of timber is fetched from that source, actually. Then, of course, the ever persisting encroachment and illegal logging, then harvesting without a permit and over-harvesting. The private businesses, as far as taxes and fees are concerned, are not paying the correct royalties and harvesting fees. There is a lot of widespread tax evasion and corruption on the part of the implementing agencies. Then coming to timber harvesting practices, illegal harvesting within the protected areas. So there is corruption all over, which we cannot deny, even harvesting timber from the protected areas. Lots of policies and trade regulations. The plant quarantine order, which actually is permitting only allowed species of plants or plant products to be imported into our countries, implemented by the Ministry of Import and also by the Ministry of Agriculture, which is looking into mainly to the phytosanitary procedures. While exporting material to the other countries, we are following a practice which is not scientific and very damaging. We are using methyl bromide fumigation, and which is #1 class 1 chemical as far as ozone depletion is concerned. Exim policy, which is revised every 5 years, has actually lifted the trade barrier in importing timber into the country, but it has imposed, relaxed its legislations as far as the products are concerned, but logs are again not permitted to be traded. Then several agreements and several countries have enacted their own legislations and regulatory policies, which will in future very shortly affect us, mainly the US amended Lacey Act recently, which does not permit you to use any plant variety which is not sourced legally or from a certified source. Then EUTR and also the earlier FLEGT. So we have come up facing with the issue of export of wooden handicrafts, especially from Shisham. The industry was in lots of trouble. So the Export Promotion Council for Handicrafts have come up with a bridge scheme in consultation with NCCF that handles certification in the country. That you have to have a certificate or which certified material to be traded in place of other international certificates, since they are not at place right now. We also do not have much of these internationally recognized schemes of certification, especially the FSC and PEFC. So we act through the Network for Certification Consortium of Forests, the NCCF. And I'm ending my presentation with this, how to ease or promote wood industries by easing the regulatory regimes that are related to wood-based industries. Is actually, we should look at the NOC issues. Lots of wood-based industries, especially sawmills, are facing issues of NOCs or permits for getting their timber sawn by showing the wood balance study. There is also no regulation for verification legality as far as certification or quantitative restrictions I already mentioned. Only for phytosanitary measures we do have this restriction. And the issue of CITES Appendix 2 genus Dalbergia being added to that. Then we are now exporting timber. 75% of our timber products are exported to countries that have laws in place like the Lacey Act, the FLEGT or the UTR. So we will face difficulties in exporting our timber and timber products to other countries, other advanced nations which insist on certification. So there is a pertinent need to put in place specific measures to verify that our timber raw materials are legally sourced from sustainably managed forests. And also, we should pay more attention to this wood is good. You plan more wood, use more wood, because it is having the least embodied energy for its manufacture. It is carbon negative and it is the largest source of carbon sink. So it serves the purpose of carbon negativity, and it is very cost effective and a very good climate change mitigation strategy. And we have our own nationally committed goals as far as the climate, the carbon dioxide emission is concerned. There too, we should have a national wood use policy. So the way forward is to promote agroforestry by establishing a true linkage between the wood-based industries and the timber suppliers from the agroforestry systems, the so-called timber growers, cooperative societies and all that, and use the latest of technologies to link these with the wood-based industry so that, you know, the buyer can fetch easily the wood he wants. Then also we should have a positive policy push for greater use when to try to enhance use of wood products by building or embedding the sustainability concepts in public procurement policies, and also teaching more of wood science in civil engineering and architecture, which is not there right now, and by establishing wood markets across the country for smooth sourcing of legal wood by the WBS. We don't know now from the chain of custody, we don't know where actually the wood is sourced from, because we do not have any data or any documents to support the chain of custody certification. Address the gaps in wood commerce by, you know, more of production degraded lands. Then export-import policy also needs a relook. Efficient production by the forest development corporations of different states. Then also have a qualitative improvement in the WBS and promoting credible certification process in India. And I sum up by telling that, you know, there is this fast changing technologies and changing consumer preferences. So what it finally means is that, you know, we should put a stop to importing timber that is not certified, coming from illegal sources and coming from ecologically fragile or uncertified, and also stop our harvest footprints into the forests of other poorer countries. We have lots of timber that is graded, seasoned, and also processed wood that is coming from much developed countries, especially from Canada, which will solve many of our wood deficit crisis. It comes up almost at the same price. And so we should look at the opportunities that are now there. We have lots of timbers which are more than 100 years old being sized and sold, shipped into your house if you need it from several agencies, including the Canadian. Thank you so much for your time. I think I have not overshot my allotted time too much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Anoop, for an elaborate portrait of the timber trade in terms of legality. And I think, you know, all the agencies should work closely to ensure that we all use legally sourced and sustainable material for our different applications. Thank you once again. Now I need to call our next speaker, Dr. Shailendra Kumar. Dr. Shailendra Kumar is a scientist in wood seasoning discipline. I request him to switch on his video. He's a scientist in Forest Research Institute, Dehradun since 2010, and he's a regular faculty at the FRI deemed university. He's also serving as a program coordinator and placement officer at the Masters in Wood Science program there. He's an expert in different wood seasoning technologies, such as the conventional seasoning and also the solar-based drying. He's currently working on a very futuristic microwave-based and solar-based vacuum drying system. That's what I understand. He's a gold medalist in forestry and a young scientist awardee with 2 patents in his credit and many research papers published in peer-reviewed journals. And he also has many years of industrial experience in working in large export-based industry in Muradabad. With these few words, I welcome Dr. Shailendra Kumar to deliver his speech on wood seasoning. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir, Dr. Jimmy Thomas. Now I will share my screen. Is it visible? The screen is visible now?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
yes.
Yeah. So, good afternoon to all. Now we will talk on one aspect of wood processing, that is seasoning of food. And I will try to address a few questions like as far as wood seasoning is concerned, where do we stand and are we future ready? So this is the layout of presentation. I will be talking on wood seasoning, what and why. I will put some key statistics on wood utilization in India, a rough estimate on number of wood seasoning kilns that will be required for us, and important aspects of kiln drying, steam heated kilns, what are the improvement possibilities, important aspects of kiln drying, energy and schedules, other important kiln drying technologies like vacuum, solar, dehumidification, RF and microwave based dryers. I will, in short, in brief, I will also address research at wood seasoning discipline FRI Dehradun, and what are the opportunities and way ahead. So as far as most of know that wood seasoning is controlled removal of moisture content. Since wood manufacturing, biological wood manufacturing happens in water saturated conditions. So in log form, wood has a lot of water in it, and once the log is failed and converted into planks, it starts interacting with atmospheric conditions, and in that process it starts losing moisture content until it comes in equilibrium with environmental conditions, and it attains a certain moisture content which is in equilibrium with atmospheric air. This is a natural process, and if we do not dry our wood, or if we do not season our wood, this process will occur simultaneously, and there will be related problems. In this figure, you can see that few components of the furniture are absorbing moisture content and few are dissolving. If we do not season our wood to a proper moisture content, few problems may occur, like we observe tight drawers in months of July and August, and again it becomes free moving in month of January. There are warps and checks in timber if we do not dry properly. Loose tool handles, especially in agriculture implements, which are not seasoned properly. There are gluing failures due to lack of proper seasoning, and fungal discoloration may also occur due to high moisture content in wood. So the prime objective of wood seasoning is to make wood dimensionally stable, and wood can become dimensionally stable only when it has moisture content in range which is in equilibrium with atmospheric conditions. That means neither it is absorbing moisture nor it is dissolving. So this was basic science of wood seasoning. Now let us take where do we stand as far as India is concerned. Statistics on wood was explained and displayed by previous speaker fantastically. Now I will take only two sectors on wood utilization, for which wood seasoning is actually compulsory. So first one is furniture and handicrafts along with the construction sector. So these two sectors need to dry or season wood before use, and their demand is 31.69 million meter cube. Now, if we take approximate that 31.69 million meter cube is in round form, round wood equivalent. So if we take this round wood equivalent for sawing, and we take average retrieval of 55% from round to sawn wood, so this converts into 17.43 million meter cube sawn wood. And if we talk about cubic feet, it becomes equivalent to 615.5 million cubic feet wood. So this is a huge amount of wood, in fact. And let us take some imaginary situation in which there is a kiln of 800 cubic feet with average drying cycle of 15 days. And this kiln can dry up to 24 charges per annum as far as wood seasoning is concerned. So this becomes equivalent to 19,200 cubic feet wood, seasoned wood, coming from one seasoning kiln. So this figure may be calculated, may be used to calculate the number of wood drying kilns required. If we, for example, if we dry our 100% of wood which is being utilized, we'll be needing approximately 32,000 kilns. If we dry 80%, it becomes 25,600 kilns. Now, if we dry only 50% of our utilized wood, so the number comes 16,000 approximately. So let us see, where do we stand? So we see that even if we dry only 50%, half of our wood utilized in furniture and handicraft, along with construction sector, so we need 16,000 number of kilns. And if you search for statistics on the number of wood drying kilns, you won't find anything, neither on reported literature nor on some websites. So nobody has reported what is the status of number of kilns. So let us take example of UP. UP is largest populous state of India, and it has important clusters like Moradabad, Saharanpur, Nagina, and Bareilly. So including these important clusters and covering all over the Uttar Pradesh, you will not find a number of kilns hardly. I'm saying hardly because 200 to 300 figure is also little exaggeration. This is exaggerated figure. You will find, in fact, very few number of kilns, maybe in tune of 150 or somewhere. So this is the state of our wood seasoning industry. We need at least 16,000 kilns in order to season 50% of our wood utilization. However, we are far, you can guess how much far below we are from the expected number of kilns. So that means if we are not able to season even 50% of our wood, we do not have sufficient extra infrastructure. And this raises a question. How do we manage our quality of our wooden products? That is doors, windows, furniture, chairs, dining tables. So the probable answer you will find is that it depends upon the wisdom of the carpenter, which prevails in most of the cases. And what is that wisdom of carpenter? Carpenter always suggests you just put your timber for 6 months, maybe 1 year for air drying, and your wood will be seasoned, air seasoned. So you don't need to search for wood seasoning kilns, or you don't need for going for commercial wood seasoning. You just put your wood in air. This is the carpenter's normal carpenter's wisdom. However, there are some players which manufacture branded furniture, and there are some players which are engaged in exports of wooden products. So these two players have basically infrastructure on wood seasoning, and most of the wood seasoning kilns are owned by these two players. However, major part of the wood utilization sector, housing and common people, they are far beyond the reach of wood seasoning facilities. For example, let us talk about teak. Teak is most preferred wood by Indians, and if you find existing sawn wood rate for teak, it is somewhere between 2000 to 2300 per cubic feet, and average seasoning cost all across India is approximately 120 to 140 per cubic feet. That means the seasoning cost, drying of wood cost, it is equivalent to only 5 to 6%. And then it means there is some serious problem. And what is that problem? I think, in my opinion, the lack of awareness and lack of infrastructure, both are to be blamed, because both result in a state where people are not going for seasoning of food. An option of air drying, why it is not feasible? Because the wood has become very costlier. You cannot keep wood for 6 months or 1 year for air seasoning, only because interest rates, bank loan interest rate is very high, and you will be paying a lot of interest without doing anything with your wood. So this is air seasoning as of now. In nowadays, it is not an option as far as wood seasoning is concerned. So now let us talk about what are the options of kiln dryings. Kiln drying options are available with us. So you will get first answer is conventional steam heated kiln. Most of the organized players or branded furniture players or export market players, they are using conventional steam heated kilns, and seconded by dehumidification kilns. But number is moderately lower as compared with steam heated kiln. And solar kilns, scattered use of this kiln. Vacuum kilns rarely used, and there are some options on dielectric heating based kilns like radio frequency and microwave. However, this type of kiln is used rarely in the market. So there are three important aspects of wood drying. First one is quality, second one is time, and third one is energy consumption. So wood should, the drying should produce the best quality of seasoned wood in shortest of the time, and by using smallest possible energy for kiln drying. As far as energy is concerned, there are many studies across the world which suggest that the wood seasoning is single most important processing step, in which 70% of the total industrial energy that is used in wood manufacturing, 70% of the total of the energy goes only to the single operation, that is wood seasoning. That means anything which results into use of higher or lower amount of energy can make or break the wood seasoning process. Cost of energy, because cost of energy is going higher day by day. Let us talk about wood-based industries or wood drying industry. So wood drying industry in India, what I have seen has not changed its nature since many decades, and they have been still using steam heated kiln, which is very conventional. And as far as it is compared with other sectors like textile sector, they have been ahead from wood-based industries in adopting new technologies. However, in this aspect, wood-based industries or drying industry has been laggard in adopting new technologies which are available for kiln drying operations. So there are three possible reasons. the possible reason is that cost of energy is high. We will see later on why cost of energy becomes important, and cost of equipment it also becomes important, and lack of awareness by general public. Public is also not very aware about the wood seasoning. So these are the three reasons why the wood drying industry has been laggard in adopting new technologies which are available in this sector. Now, let us talk about steam heated kiln, and let us see even the improvement in steam heating technology. The new things are not being introduced, or new things are not being adopted by industry. For example, you must be aware that air conditioning industry, they have been using the component of venting and heating or cooling, even cooling, very smartly. So as far as fan for air circulation is concerned, variable speed fan for wood drying you will not find anywhere across India. And as far as energy wastage is concerned, especially through venting, so nobody is using actually heat recovery system. As far as Europeans are concerned, they are ahead from us. They have been doing heat recovery system, because a lot of heat is thrown out from the steam heated kiln in process of venting. Then there comes a third important aspect, that is the drying schedule improvement. So as far as drying schedule improvement is concerned, there is a lot of scope, like introduction of more precise moisture content and EMC sensors. Recently, there is they have developed a microwave-based moisture meter, which is more accurate than conventional pin type resistance type moisture meters. So introduction of moisture content EMC sensors may help to improve kiln drying schedules. Timely detection of drying stresses. Again, we have been doing first thing, most of people are not even knowing what is drying stress, and they are not even caring about prong test to detect drying stresses. However, there is scope if some online monitoring of drying stresses through some acoustic or strain gauge sensors can be introduced in the kiln drying. So people may be, at least wood dryers, kiln dryers may become aware there is that something is happening inside wood, and we should be keep on a watch over it.
Dr.
Just like
sorry to interfere, you have 2 more minutes.
Yes, I will finish. So online monitoring of rate of diffusion is one of important aspect which can be incorporated in the kiln schedule improvement. Artificial intelligence, the algorithms, development of algorithms which can decide automatically by their own what type of the temperature and relative humidity conditions should be imported in drying in kilns. And at line estimation of juvenile wood. This is most, in fact, juvenile wood is enemy of wood dryers. Juvenile wood is the wood which is found near the pith, and it cracks. In most of the cases, out of 199% of the cases, it cracks. So detection of juvenile wood is one of the important aspect of kiln drying. As far as kiln dryings or kiln drying schedules are concerned, trial and error method is one of the method using which kiln drying schedules are developed. So if you can manage some artificial intelligence or artificial neural network for kiln schedules, it has capability of changing the game. As far as wood waste is concerned, so most of the wood waste industries which are engaged in wood drying, they use offcuts, sawdust, wood waste for as fuel to generate steam. And as per one of the study, only 10 to 30% of the wood waste is enough to sustain the drying requirement of an industry. So that means we are wasting 90% to 70% of the wood waste just we are selling out to other industries or other players, which they use this wood waste for sustaining their brick kilns. As per a study funded by FAO, 40% volume of the wood remains in semi-finished product, and rest of 60% of the wood volume goes active as fuel. So that means we are wasting a lot of wood in form of fuel, and that fuel can be used for making panels, which we are either using in our boilers 10 to 30%, or we are selling for to be used as fuel in other industries. So that 60 to 70% of the wood waste, which is we are selling as fuel, that can be used for panel making, useful products. In some applications, intermittent shrinkage and swelling, this is important aspect. Even the seasoned wood is not, it is liable to shrink and swell if there is extreme temperature and RH variations in atmosphere. That means even if you use seasoned wood, it cannot guarantee that it will not shrink or swell. That means along with, now the time has come that along with wood seasoning, we must use some wood modification and nanotechnology interventions in order to address this problem. Other kiln drying technologies, I will show it in short. Vacuum dryers, their advantage is that they are very faster, but they need a lot of cost for installation. Solar kilns, they are a very good solar drying options, and they are very cheaper as far as cost is concerned. But the its disadvantage is that the rate of drying is very slow, and they are unpredictable due to the weather conditions. Dehumidification kilns, energy efficient kilns, they have good drying capability, quality is very good, but they are relatively slower, and there is need of cost of installation of dehumidification unit. Again, radio frequency and microwave dryers, they are a very rapid and modern type of modern technology of drying. You can dry timber 10 to 20 times faster than these conventional methods. So, but the problem with these dryers is that the initial cost of installation is very, very high, exponentially high. So, I would try to show few our work which we have been doing at wood seasoning discipline FRI recently. So this is one of the work, the solar kiln, which was developed in decade of 70s, and it has been adopted by all across the India, scattered in scattered way. This is developed. This is basically modification over the old kiln, and this is 30% more efficient solar kiln, which has been installed at Churu, Rajasthan, for a company. And we have been trying to incorporate store solar thermal energy during daytime and reutilizing in night time, because the solar kiln cannot be heated during night time. So we have been trying to develop a solar thermal energy storage system. And we have, this is the glimpse of that technology. We have developed one solar vacuum dryer, which is run by solar energy, solar heat, and it can also store the heat in, and reutilize in night time. So it is a vacuum dryer, and it is a patented technology. And this is the glimpse of that kiln. Again, this is another vacuum dryer which works on convective mode. There is electrical air heater which is used for drying under vacuum. And this is, again, we have been working on development of microwave vacuum dryer. So this is, as I told you, microwave and radio frequency techniques are very, very fast drying techniques. I will show some glimpse of products. This is the bamboo, and you can see that there is no visible defect in bamboo. And this bamboo was actually dried at a high temperature, very high temperature, 90 degrees Celsius. And you see that the quality of bamboo is fantastic. This is wood log. I wanted to show that this is 2 feet girth wood log of poplar, 6 feet long. So we have been capable of drying this wood log from 120 to 20% moisture content, initial to 10% moisture content, final. Within 30 hours, only 30 hours, 30 घंटे में we have dried it. And what I feel, I will end my presentation. I know I have been running a little bit late. So what I feel that this segment of wood drying, wood-based processing is very important, and there is opportunity for kiln manufacturers, because number of wood seasoning kilns are going to increase, because Indian economy is keeping its pace at very high rate, and we need a lot of drying kilns because our economy is expanding. So that there is opportunity for kiln manufacturers, and there is opportunity with kiln operators, boiler operators, etc. as far as employment opportunity is concerned. And there is also a scope of self-employment, because you can start a business of kiln seasoning. And of course, there is a lot of need of mass awareness programs, because people are not knowing. Most of the people are not knowing what is wood seasoning and how can do it. They do it. So this is end of my presentation. I think I have been using few minutes more than allotted. I am sorry for it, and I welcome few questions.
Thank you, Dr. Shailendra. It was a very elaborate collection of information, the current status of seasoning in India. I think it's very fantastic to see, this much information all from a single source. Thank you for that. We'll come back to the questions later on after the next presentation. So without wasting any time, let me call my senior colleague, Peter Bradfield, for his presentation. Peter, please come on board. Peter is the technical advisor at Canadian Wood, operating from our Mumbai office. With more than 40 years of international experience in the Canadian forest industry, Peter leads the technical and educational activities in India since 2015. He has been instrumental in leading several key projects, hand-holding stakeholders such as architects, designers, builders, and developers, apart from manufacturers of various wood products. And we are fortunate to have Peter today. Peter has been instrumental in, promoting Canadian wood in our country for the last so many years, and this could be his last official program with us in Canadian Wood. So I wish Peter a good success now here in this program.
Thank you,
So
Jimmy.
over to you, Peter.
Thanks, Jimmy. Let's see if I can share the screen today. Can we see the screen?
No, Peter, not yet.
Not yet. Okay, one second. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Whew, that's
Here we
good.
go.
Okay. Thanks, Jimmy. And thanks so much to the previous speakers for the very insightful presentations. What I'm going to do is zoom in on the Canadian wood specifically in terms of certified and legal wood supply, and also the importance of seasoning. Now let's start with Canada as a whole before focusing on the key province of British Columbia. Canada's forest covers 347 million hectares. That's more than the total area of India, so it's very large indeed. And through good management practices, Canada is blessed with 0% deforestation for more than 30 years now. And British Columbia, or BC as it's known, which is Canada's westernmost province, produces 50% of Canada's lumber. Due to its location on the Pacific coast, BC has developed a thriving forest products export trade to Asia and the Pacific. At normal times, BC has an abundance of wood available for export because for every tree harvested, at least 3 trees are planted. That's about 200 million seedlings per year in BC alone. And this gives confidence to importing nations like India that BC supply is available and sustainable. BC's strong system of forest legislation, monitoring and enforcement ensures clients are sourcing wood from sustainably managed forests. The province has some of the most comprehensive practices in the world, as roughly 95% of BC forests are publicly owned and governed by stringent laws and environmental regulations. Excuse me 1 second. Sorry about that. There was some background noise there. The management and sustainability of our Canadian forest and the certification of Canadian lumber and its chain of custody ensures you, the customer, receive reliable and legally sourced wood every time. This is so important. Unfortunately, as Dr. Anoop mentioned, there remains a lot of illegal logging and exporting of tropical hardwoods from various regions around the world, including some regions supplying to India. Some hardwood exporters appear to make false claims regarding the certification and can't provide reliable chain of custody documentation. So we believe it's really important that you have confidence in Canadian wood practices. So how does BC remain at the forefront of lumber exports while logging just 0.2% of its land area and maintaining 0% deforestation? The answer is responsible forest management. Canada's annual allowable cut is just a small portion of the total forest and must not exceed the annual volume of new forest growth. So the forest exists in perpetuity and all the forest benefits are sustainable forever as a result. Now, in discussing sustainability and advocating the benefits of wood over alternatives, I think it's necessary to remind ourselves why this is important. Many depleted alternative resources are being mined illegally or unduly subsidised. Products like water, sand, gravel, and associated minerals. This is irresponsible and non-viable long-term. However, responsibly harvested wood is environmentally friendly, viable, and sustainable. Remember, sustainable forestry creates an endless cycle of carbon absorption and storage, something I think we all have a stake in. And there is a direct link from sustainable to certified. For a resource to be sustainable, it must be well managed. Canada's forest resource, I think, is well managed. So if multiple species, for instance, are removed from an area, those species will be replanted in the same habitat in a similar ratio, thus preserving the local biodiversity. And those replanted trees are not just left to their own devices. New plantings are monitored and managed until they are established and healthy, and over time the forest comes back. As I showed on the earlier slide, Canada's forest is so well managed that less than 0.3% of Canada's managed forests are logged in any 1 year. Less than 0.3%, so it's very small. We know that young, vigorously growing trees absorb the most carbon, and so it is in our interest to harvest mature trees and to plant new trees. Trees truly are nature's best resource. Therefore, it makes sense to tackle climate change by using eco-friendly wood from sustainably managed forests, rather than mining finite and irreplaceable materials such as coal, iron ore, bauxite, and sand to produce steel, aluminium, and concrete. And in doing that, creating environmentally damaging greenhouse gas emissions. It doesn't make sense. Life cycle analysis studies consistently show that wood is better for the environment than steel or concrete in terms of embodied energy, air and water pollution, and greenhouse gas emissions. So why is it important to use only certified wood? Well, because the use of certified wood ensures the legality and source of the lumber and its chain of custody, meaning it's always traceable. Certified wood ensures that forests are well maintained and that logging operations are responsible and sustainable. This engenders a sense of responsibility, pride and reputation in the community, and guarantees biodiversity and future forests for our children. Certified wood also means meaningful jobs plus responsible and enduring development of rural areas. In summary, certification provides assurance that transacted wood is legal and sustainable. It means you can buy with confidence from Canada. I'm pleased to inform, or probably remind you, that Canada leads the world in certified wood by quite some margin. And actually in third place to Canada is British Columbia in its own right. That's pretty impressive. Customers can rest assured that all wood sourced from BC is legal and certified. All Canadian wood arriving in India is sawn and seasoned lumber, consistently graded and sized with excellent working properties. And BC is blessed with 5 distinct species which are offered in the export markets. 4 of those 5 Canadian wood species are available in clear grades. Now, clear grades are ideal for high-end furniture and joinery and eminently viable alternatives to exotic hardwoods. In fact, all 5 species are also graded for structural use too. Now, these are large trees, 100 feet and taller in many cases, rarely harvested under 100 years of age. Canada's forests are old-growth natural forests, so the logs are large girth and the wood is fine-grained, mature and stable, and most importantly, certified and legal. So among the first things to understand is that Canadian lumber is kiln-dried. KD lumber is wood that has gone through a carefully monitored drying process in a kiln, during which temperature and humidity are controlled in order to eliminate moisture from the wood. Under India's import regulations, imported lumber must also be heat treated to eliminate any insects or pathogens that may be present in the wood. Heat treated lumber is specifically heated to a much higher temperature for a short period in the same kiln. Typically, Canadian coastal species intended for manufacturing are dried to 12 to 14% average moisture content in a gentle and exacting process, which may require 2 to 3 weeks in the kiln. So, after grading, kiln drying, heat treating and packaging, significant value has been added to the sawn lumber. Note the export packaging includes tight stacking, strapping to attached dunnage to avoid forklift damage, cardboard base and corner protection prior to banding, and barcode labelling. This slide is showing vertical grain Douglas fir door stock. It's really quite valuable and much care is taken in the packaging. KD wood is bagged for weather and moisture protection, and then it travels in a container from the Northern Hemisphere to India via the equator. This is a lot to ask. Since all wood is hygroscopic, we can understand that the moisture content of the lumber will be affected by changes in temperature and humidity inside the container in transit. So we have to be very aware. And how do we manage our investment? That's a really important question. It's critical also to your business plan, I would say. So please take a minute to check the points on this slide. Namely, when the wood arrives, it's important to check its moisture content with a good quality meter. Do select planks from the middle layers of the packs rather than the outside. And to start with, check about 10% of the boards in each pack. Be sure to measure in the middle of each board and not just the ends, setting aside boards reading above 14% moisture content for stickering. In fact, after segregating higher moisture content pieces, my best practice advice would be to place all the wood on stickers, irrespective of the moisture content. Now, the reason I say that, as we learned from Dr. Kumar, seasoned wood will continue to absorb or lose moisture depending on the surrounding temperature and humidity conditions. So allowing all imported seasoned wood to acclimatise to its surroundings will keep moisture movement and resultant defects to a minimum. When wood arrives in India, it's distributed to all corners of the country. Each geography has its own microclimate, as you know. So there is a real relationship between relative humidity in that location and the equilibrium moisture content. For instance, we can see on this chart, wood located in Delhi falls under zone 2, yellow, where the equilibrium moisture content averages 8 to 9%. So if wood coming from Canada is 12 to 14% moisture content, when it arrives in Delhi, it's going to lose moisture to the atmosphere to match Delhi's EMC. And only when acclimatised to Delhi's 8 to 9% will it be ready for manufacturing. If KD lumber, on the other hand, arrives in Mumbai, where it's 12 to 14, or with 12 to 14% moisture content, that's going to match Mumbai's Zone 3 EMC, which is also 12 to 14%. However, if that wood is moved inland to Pune, it will need to acclimatise to Pune's Zone 2 8 to 9% EMC. So, as you see, it can be tricky. Most of the defects and problems encountered in the wood storage and manufacturing result from moisture content and inadequate preparation at the factory. Potential defects such as checking, splitting and wood movement can be reduced or eliminated by acclimatising on stickers. And when placing lumber on stickers, we have a great opportunity to inspect the lumber piece by piece for any defects or problems. Now, note the careful arrangement when placing boards on stickers. We must ensure that stickers are vertically aligned and spaced evenly every 18 to 24 inches along the length of the pack, as we see here. Stickers should commence within 1 inch of the end of the pack, and the pack should be elevated on dunnage at least 4 to 6 inches above the ground. Placing extra weight on top of the packs, as you see here, that's going to help to keep everything flat. It's not compulsory, but it's not a bad idea. Other tips include spacing the boards at least 3/4 of an inch or perhaps 1 inch apart horizontally. For that, you'll need accurately sized stickers, consistent. Using a vapor barrier on the ground is another important tip. And if you intend splitting or ripping boards to a smaller dimension, for example, 2x6 resawn to 1x6 blanks, it's always better to air dry the blank size. Our next concern must be handling and storing of the lumber. You've made an investment in this value-added wood, so it's important to train your workers to handle it with care and not as a commodity. After all, a lot of effort has gone into sawmilling, grading, sorting, drying, export packaging, moisture checking, and perhaps even stickering. A lot of steps. So packages should be protected from direct sun and exposure to moisture and dust, preferably in a well-ventilated warehouse or at least under an awning roof, as we see here. Once dry wood is transferred to the factory, best practice informs that it should be stacked on dunnage, pallets or racks in an organised way, not directly on the concrete floor, in an organised way according to species, size and grade and clearly labelled. Now our wood has been resawn and acclimatised, it's ready for the manufacturing process. I'd now like to move on briefly to feature Canadian wood and future opportunities, some of the future opportunities at least. This product, finger jointed edge glued panel, in this case we're showing Western hemlock. This is a new initiative from Canadian Wood. The panels seen here are being produced in clear watertight knot grades in India. And these finger jointed edge glued panels provide all the advantages of kiln drying, precision engineering, or precision engineered construction, I should say, with finish sanding. So they're very precise, and along with maximum size flexibility for door jamb, they offer maximum size flexibility for door jamb and furniture applications. This is the reason for this initiative. Another huge opportunity for wood is the construction industry, both domestic housing and commercial. After all, why not build with wood, which stores carbon for the entire life of the structure and even beyond, instead of concrete buildings which emit carbon during their lifespan? It's kind of a no-brainer. Here are just a few examples of our Canadian wood activities in India. This is wood frame construction in Chennai. Beautiful. Again, wood frame construction in Mysore. In fact, this was our first display home. This house has now seen 4 monsoons and it looks as good as new. Bangalore, wood frame construction. And again in Bangalore, this is a resto bar interior fit out. Peninsula Apartments, commercial project at Breach Candy in Mumbai. There's enormous potential, in my view, in commercial projects to be more responsible and eco-friendly through the use of natural, renewable and beneficial wood. This is just an example. So what do I mean by beneficial? Well, another feature of wood, and I think a huge opportunity, is promotion of health benefits. Wood buildings are more serene and pleasant to live and work in. You know, there's a lovely feeling inside a wood building. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence today around health benefits, well-being, productivity, and improved learning. Some of the reported health benefits attributed to wood buildings include improved emotional state and self-expression, improved air quality by moderating the humidity which encourages easier breathing, feelings of warmth and comfort, and lower blood pressure, heart rate, and stress levels. So I'm a fan. This is mass timber, otherwise known as glue laminated timber or simply glulam, in the form of Douglas fir glue laminated arches at Sept University, Ahmedabad. In all, there are 33 arches, each one 11 metres long. Canadian worked with Sept in Ahmedabad to bring these glulam arches from BC to India, and I'm sure we're all aware of the emerging trends in mass timber, including glue laminated timber and CLT, among a whole range of engineered wood products. There is much interest around the world in multi-level apartments and commercial buildings constructed using wood as a primary structural element. In recent years, we've seen high-profile architects like Michael Green, for instance, advocating and designing mass timber-based skyscrapers, such as this 18-storey wooden skyscraper at UBC Vancouver, made from glulam and cross-laminated timber. Very quickly erected too, by the way.
Peter, hope you will finish in the next 1 minute time.
This revolution in wood has only just begun. So to finish up, I thought I'd share this recent article in the Times of London. It advocates 90% of new housing in urban areas should be built with wood to create timber cities. That's an amazing thought. Scientific study published in the journal Nature Communications says in order to achieve this goal, up to 150 million hectares of new forest will need to be planted globally. Researchers in Germany agree, suggesting the world's rapidly expanding urban populations can be housed in 4 to 12-storey mid-rise buildings made entirely from wood. That's really something to think about, and this, I think, is the real promise. So I'd like to say a big thank you from me and the team at Canadian Wood for attending this webinar. I hope you found it informative, and I'll hand it back to Jimmy. Thanks, Jimmy.
Thanks, Peter, for your elaborate and very informative presentation with a lot of insights as usual. And this helped me to cover a lot of answers to the questions we received. Good. Anyway, I request Dr. Anoop and Dr. Shailendra Kumar to come on board, make visible yourself so that we can address the questions quickly. So the first question is going to Dr. Anoop. The question is, what are the main challenges before Indian timber industry which refrain it from sourcing legal timber or practicing legal things? Hope the question is clear.
Can you repeat that?
What are the main challenges before Indian timber industry which refrain it from legal sourcing or practices?
Yeah, it's mainly the availability of legally sourced wood. Because, you know, we can, you probably know about several timber clusters or consortia back home in Kerala.
Yeah.
You know, they actually don't look at where they get the wood from. They just go for the pricing and the suitability. So there is no uniformity as such. as far as the source of raw material is concerned. Depends on the industry again.
Yeah.
So one of the probable answer is that if this agroforestry, tree growers, cooperative societies, they get stronger, and also companies like yours are facilitating importing of graded timbers into the country at a cost that is at par with what these industries are now using. As far as raw material sourcing is concerned, that will be the first step that we can take.
Right. I think a lot of awareness still required in every segment of wood utilization, starting from sourcing, seasoning, the way it is produced and manufactured or finished in every segment.
Yeah, right. I think even most people don't know what certification is. They often confuse it with legality.
Yeah.
Of course, all certified woods are from legal sources, but all legally or legal wood need not be certified.
Yeah.
And they actually don't. In many seminars, we are often asked the question, what do we stand to gain by getting a COC certificate, the chain of custody certificate, or an FME certificate?
Yeah.
Most people don't understand that it is a market mechanism. It's a third-party certification.
Right.
So, as you rightly pointed out, there is a lack of information about exactly certification.
So in your courses in the university and in your talks on these different aspects, wherever, would you be able to spread this message?
Yeah, exactly. We have a course, the undergraduate level on forest certification itself. So
Right.
our students are, already well equipped and aware, and some of them are working in some of the companies like the SGS, and even with the Vriksh scheme, one of the companies were doing in back in New Delhi. Many of them have joined the firm. You probably know some of them already, and some
Yeah.
are with NEPCON, who were earlier with forest certification agencies. But one important question that I was asked in one of the wood is good seminar is, why do you want to go for certification? Are you exporting wood? I said, no, we are a net importer. Then why do we need certification? So certification is a market mechanism where, a buyer actually takes into account its advantage vis-a-vis the environment friendly, ecologically friendly, as well as socially, several dimensions to forest certification. So it's a lack of awareness, but we are trying to improve on it. And the best thing, the first or the starting point will be for certifying wood coming from agroforestry sources or from the trees outside forest sources, and then the forest development corporations, which are mainly planting into the plantation business, and possibly export these as sawn material or into products that are exported abroad.
Right. Actually, in fact, I feel a lot of collective effort from all the different stakeholders are required. That is the case with the seasoning industry, seasoning aspects as well. The question is to Dr. Shailendra next. See, somebody raised an interesting observation. Timber is one of the oldest construction material and is being used before the concept of seasoning came. And many of those structures are still very intact and running very good. So how seasoning gives this advantage? If we have the examples of all those old structures, what is your opinion? How important still seasoning is?
Interesting question. It is a really interesting question. But why at all we are guessing that that timber was not seasoned in old days? What they do? Dr. Peter just showed us that they use air seasoning. So in old days, they fell timbers, fell trees, convert it, and they just keep it for few years, 2 years, 3 years, maybe 5 years, depending on the section of the timber. So now that cannot be practiced as of now, because the cost of interest, that is the low interest rate offered by bank is too high. We cannot wait for money to be stagnated for 5 years. So in old days, please don't assume that they have not seasoned the timber. Of course, they have seasoned timber, but they have used air drying. However, In today's scenario, we cannot afford air drying.
Fantastic. So that is again showing the importance of having good quality,
Yes.
faster seasoning mechanisms in place.
Yes.
So do you
And
see
Jimmy,
any?
Jimmy, just
Yeah.
sorry, just to clarify too, it's a good point. I 100% agree with Dr. Kumar, and I know I was showing a lot of slides there with the wood on stickers. What I was really referring to there is seasoned wood that needing to be acclimatized. So while I'm saying put it on stickers, which is in effect air drying the wood, we're only doing that for a few days or a couple of weeks to acclimatize it. We're not having to leave it for those very lengthy periods from green. So the
Thanks,
stickering
Peter.
I'm referring to is for acclimatization, not for air drying as such.
Yeah. That's actually a good way to climatize and make the wood uniform in moisture content before
Right.
we manufacture and encounter any problems thereafter. So thanks for supplementing the answer, Peter. Next question is to you actually.
No.
What are the legal forestry? What are some of the legal forestry practices that India can learn from Canada? And what is the best alternative wood compared to when we compare to teak? Two questions.
Well, I think, I think India, in fact, many countries can learn a lot from Canada. It's all about planning. It's, in Canada, the foresters there, the forest industry, they have like a 200-year vision. They're planning ahead 200 years, 250 years. And so, because those rotations, as I said, these are natural old growth forests. So the rotations are 80 years, 100 years. I said we're harvesting trees that are 100 years old. That's a long rotation, but we're only able to do it because of forward planning and forward thinking and very much managing those cuts and replanting. So that's the first thing. And it's all about management and actually following up, making sure that all the laws are enforced and followed and the practices are good practices. In terms of teak, there's not many species better than teak. That's a wonderful wood, but unfortunately it was overlogged in India, and so we need substitute species. So the two that we talk about from Canada are predominantly western red cedar and yellow cedar for durability, natural durability, similar to what teak shows is this natural durability against termites, against moisture, against fungus and decay. These species are naturally durable because of the oils in their chemistry, and they perform extremely well outdoors. And they perform even better if there's a coating on the wood. So coatings these days are very important, even with teak. So that's my answer. I think they're the two major species that we suggest, particularly in external settings, as a substitute for teak.
Yeah, and even for our interior applications, other species can be successfully used. So Western hemlock and SPF, Douglas fir, all the three can be used as, for internal applications.
Absolutely.
In place of teak wood. So this comes to the end of this webinar. In fact, it's a very interesting discussion going on. However, it's already overshot by a few minutes. So I thank all the three speakers today, Dr. Anoop, Dr. Shailendra Kumar, and also our Peter Bradfield for their wonderful session talks, and also their sharing their experience, and also to the participants, all the participants who take time to attend this program. We will be answering all your questions. Many of the questions are unanswered, and as usual, we will be answering all your questions. Each one of the questions will be addressed through email to you. And I thank everyone again. So this comes to the end of the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy, and the whole Canadian team. And Peter, have a nice future ahead.
Thank you so much.
Shailendra Kumar also.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take